while you're trying to learn clinical skills, you went on a placement that was focused on leadership.
Realizing that at first, I was really quite frustrated. I felt a bit again that I'm just a student, like who's going to want to listen to me, I guess.
I always talk about the 4 pathways that we have for physios. Welcome to Priya Physio Podcast, where we shine light on brave, bold, and brilliant physios who are redefining leadership on their own terms. Before we proceed into the real podcast, I want to share analytics with you. 70% of people who watch my YouTube videos aren't subscribed yet. Please subscribe to my channel so I can bring you more content like this where you can learn and thrive. Today's podcast is different. We are talking to a leader in the making. So let's dive in and welcome Ricky Parish, physio student. Hi, Ricky. Thanks a lot for joining me on Priya Physio Podcast.
To be here, looking forward to it.
Thank you so much. So, Ricky, before we go into the real podcast, can you take us back to your early career?
My name's Ricky. I'm a third year student at the University of Bradford. I'm also a CSP rep and the acting president of the Physio Society at Bradford. I've had a career before this, so I went to university when I was 18, 19, straight out of college, and I studied sound engineering at Birmingham City University. I was really into music as a teenager, and I think that was the extent of my research into that. So, I didn't really know what I was letting myself in for. Got through the degree and just fell into various roles within kind of supply chain sort of roles, things like buying, marketing, logistics, product development, that kind of thing. I was the product development manager. Product development manager. So my role was to liaising with shipping agents, suppliers, factories, customs, and imports, and all that kind of stuff, and bringing the products into the UK. And then decided didn't really want to do that anymore. So, got interested in physiotherapy through probably like a lot of people. Had various running injuries and things like that. Kind of going through the process of physiotherapy was something that just sparked my interest, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thanks a lot for being so honest. You mentioned about your dad's experience with COVID and how has that shifted you? So, your personal experience and how has it reshaped what you think about physiotherapy?
COVID pandemic through the second wave. Unfortunately, my dad was hospitalised and then ended up actually on a ventilator, and we were close to losing him. I had a phone. I looked at my phone one day and there was like 15 missed calls from the hospital, and they were like, it was really noisy and really confusing. I didn't really know what they were doing, but then it kind of clicked that they were going to put him on a ventilator and they were going to sedate him. And I was possibly about to have my last conversation with him, which was quite a tough moment in my life. Thankfully, he pulled through, and a couple of weeks later, he came around, and obviously then had to go through that process of, I suppose, what you don't see in the movies and stuff is that when people come out of a coma, they're they can't move, they can't speak, and so going through that process from being essentially completely paralyzed through to, well, now today he's fully independent still.
Wow.
Um,
Wow.
he's made an incredible recovery, and can't speak highly enough of the staff that looked after him. Really has high praise for physiotherapy, and I think that's kind of like when he found out that I wanted to be a physio, he's just like my biggest fan, I guess. But there was, when I was going through the process of thinking about changing careers, and then I realized I had to do an access course and things like that. I very much nearly gave up at the first hurdle, and he rang me one day and he was like, "No, you can't give up. Like you've got this idea. Do you really want to kind of get to my age and look back and think you didn't even try?" And I think that was quite a pivotal moment for me,
Mm-hmm.
in kind of actually going for it.
Thank you, Ricky. Thanks a lot for sharing that. I'm sure it's not easy for you to revisit those moments. You've been talking about turning grief into growth for leadership. And that's a really powerful statement. And now I can see exactly why you say that. How did you practically turn those emotions into actions or positive outcomes? There could be so many people out there who've gone through an emotional phase like this. How can they channelize their energy?
I'm not sure it's the healthiest way to go about things, but work became definitely became a distraction for me, and I was able to really focus on what I was doing and just really get the best out of myself, I guess, in a way.
And I think the saying, the quote that says, "Life is too short to play small." In the emotional phases like this, you actually get the best out from you because you start realizing, if I don't do it today, I might not do it tomorrow. So why not live the life while we have it and embrace the challenges that we get? That's exactly what you've shown, especially going through your to the most emotional phase with your dad's COVID experience, and even now. Thank you. I've looked at your recent post on LinkedIn on your reflection on your recent leadership placement, and now we are talking about growth and leadership. Give us your experience of what it actually felt being a student while you're trying to learn clinical skills. You went on a placement that was focused on leadership.
Yeah, it's something that I'm kind of keen to spread the word about on a little bit, I think, because it became clear that it was like a leadership sort of hybrid kind of placement. So the project was that we were doing some falls prevention training for social care staff, care home staff. So we had to go in, find a bit of a do some like a needs analysis to find out where are their training gaps, where are their what are the areas where they feel like they need to refresh their knowledge and that kind of thing. And then we had to go away and develop the training, do all the research, pitch it at the right level, which was something I really struggled with, and then deliver that training. Yeah, on the leadership side of it. So obviously, I was working at home for a lot of it, and realizing that at first, I was really quite frustrated. I felt a bit shortchanged, a bit robbed. I was like, okay, well, all my peers are going off and getting their clinical experience, and I'm just here sat at home doing research, almost feeling like, oh, I'm just doing another university project. Clinical impact doesn't always just come from that one-to-one interaction, that you can have that clinical impact on a wider reaching level. Yeah, it was just incredibly rewarding, and it was like a real journey going from that kind of feeling wound up and frustrated that I've got, feeling shortchanged, to then kind of going through that process of reflection all the way through it, and then coming out and thinking, actually, this is probably the most valuable one I've had potentially. Yeah, I think it's been really rewarding, and I'd really, if any students have a leadership type placement like that coming up, embrace it, be open minded, because it definitely, you've got to take responsibility and be open minded about it. So I could have just spent the 5 weeks just moaning and being fed up. We chose to change the script, I guess, and embrace it and get everything from it. And yeah, I think it's been amazing.
So, what you have just said about your placement, your experience, it was quite raw, and it shows that it came straight from your heart. So, reflection is definitely a really great tool. And one more point you added was, if you don't want to sit down and reflect on a piece of paper, talk it through with somebody.
Yeah.
That helps for you to align your thoughts about what happened, what went well, what didn't go so well, what can I improve next time, and how can I bring this into practice. That is exactly what is reflection. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Definitely. You mentioned about like the reflecting on what doesn't go as well. I'd
Mm,
probably do that more.
mm,
And yeah, I think it's probably easier to kind of get stuck on the things that didn't go so well.
mm.
I think that's just something we naturally do as humans, isn't it? But yeah, I
Yes.
think definitely trying to reflect on things that went well is definitely something I could do with doing more, because
Mm,
I definitely do talk myself down a lot. But
mhm, mm.
yeah, absolutely.
Yes, thank you. And I think with leadership placements and students, it's so important because you could gain all the best clinical skills in university and various placements, clinical placements that you go. But when you have to transfer those skills, when you have to showcase those skills, when you have to apply those skills, you need soft skills along with that. And one of the main pillars of CSP, one of the pillars is leadership. You stand up for your patient. That is the first thing you will do when you're applying your clinical skills. So if you don't harness leadership, how are you going to help that patient? How are you going to help your colleagues? How are you going to look after people? So I go really simple when it comes to leadership. You look after the people that are in your close proximity. That is leadership.
During this placement, where just simple things like advocating for people to be more involved in their own care. Like if someone's just wheeling out a wheelchair to take someone to the toilet, like,
Mm,
do you want to come for a walk with me instead, and we'll walk to
mhm,
the toilet?
mm,
Just little things like that. I think, yeah, like you say, like advocating for people and just little moments of leadership, I suppose.
mm,
Yeah. I'm still a student, so I don't have a positional sort of leadership role at work or whatever, but I think I suppose what I want to convey with this podcast is, yeah, like you can be a leader at student level, and that doesn't even need to be like being a CSP rep or Physio Society president or whatever. It's always just taking responsibility and ownership for what you do. I think is leadership in itself. It's kind of like stepping back and thinking, how can I take responsibility? Like, so how I try to lead now is I try and give people roles that they choose themselves, I guess. Like, sometimes it doesn't seem to work the way I'd like it to, and I suppose it's always an evolving thing, really, isn't it?
Now, you've actually touched on quite a lot of points there while you were answering this one. Number one is adapting yourself when you're around people, and that
Yeah.
is leadership too. What is the point in you saying, I'm a leader? I lead my life this way. But then people around you have no buy-in. And if you want them to come along with you, then you have to adapt yourself so they understand what you are doing, why you're doing it. So that is number one point that you mentioned. So adapting yourself around the people is really important as one of the aspects of leadership. Number two, lift as we climb. Okay. You have taken such a big step, Ricky. Switching your career at 35 is not easy. You've had a career already. You were already in logistics. You were a manager there. You were already leading in your own way. But then switching from that to getting down to student level and starting from scratch in itself is a big deal. And that is leadership as well. Because you followed your heart. You are never going to be an expert on day one. But what you're doing with the various roles that you have taken up alongside your student, alongside you being a student. Number one, you're a CSP rep. Number two, you're president of your own society. Okay, you've done so many things to show that you don't have to be an executive leader with a title to show your leadership skills. So what you're doing is exactly what is leadership. What were your feelings? And what would you like to tell those people who are worried and always think, I don't think this is right for me? I'm too old to do anything.
Which is fine now, but yeah, in those first couple of weeks, I was really quite self-conscious about it, feeling out of place, feeling like, how are people going to perceive me? Are people going to want to work with me because I'm a lot older than them? That kind of thing. But I think the way I navigated that was a role model, I suppose, and just be approachable to people, um, which has its pros and cons. Um, Certainly, sometimes I've felt like people think I'm a teacher, which I'm not, which is very flattering, I suppose, but also, yeah, I kind of have to remind people that I am a student as well. But yeah, I suppose, yeah, just trying to yeah, I suppose that probably fed into like taking on some of these leadership positions and things like that. But yeah, I think yeah, that was the way I approached it. I suppose like try to almost be a mentor to people a little bit and be approachable and just be nice and forthcoming with people, I suppose. And you know, I felt quite comfortable pretty quickly, and don't worry about that anymore.
Good.
um, the when you talk about talking to other students that want to kind of come back into university at the same kind of age, it is definitely very different. You know, the first time I was at university, I was a typical young adult, sort of late teenager. I mainly went to university because I wanted to move away from the town that I lived in, and whereas now it's very much like I'm at university because I'm very narrow minded about like tunnel vision. You know, I want to be a physio. Yeah, it's definitely a different mindset. I think when you come back as an older student, and I'd say try and find the balance because it's something that I've really struggled with a
Mm-hmm.
lot.
Mm-hmm.
But just enjoy it. It's a great journey for sure.
Yes. Yes. Thank you. So you spoke about being narrow-minded. Okay. I would change that vocabulary to being focused and driven.
Yeah, probably. Yeah,
Yes. You also said I'm just a student. Still a student. Ricky, look at what all you've done. You're not just a student. You're not still a student. You're already representing physiotherapy in various ways that you can. You also spoke about trying to fit in. Why do you want to fit in? If you try to fit in, how are you going to be different from everyone else? You've got to try to stand out.
it's
And
true.
what can you bring to the table is what should be your focus. So, what is it that you bring to the table should matter the most.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're right. And that's where I talk about kind of talking myself down quite a lot.
Exactly, exactly.
um,
And that is what is called as victim vocabulary.
yeah,
You are telling your brain yourself a story about you, and eventually your brain will start believing that as the truth. It doesn't understand the difference between reality and imagination. What you tell your brain over and over again, it starts believing. So why not flip that script? You've said all the right things, but just flip the script. Yeah.
yeah,
And
absolutely.
one more thing is about what are other people going to think about you? Let me tell you, people don't think about you as much as you think they do.
It's so true.
You go around in your university or in a placement or wherever, and you just randomly ask people, "What are you thinking about me?" And they're like, "I'm not even thinking about you right now." And
That would be kind of strange.
yeah, exactly. And you go and ask somebody else, "What are you thinking about me right now?" And they'll be like, "Well, I was just thinking about what I'm gonna do tomorrow." And
Yeah,
that will surprise you because people give a presentation and then ask people and see what they think about you rather than you thinking about yourself. So turn your reflection into this particular exercise. Next time, without reflecting, just ask people after you do something different, what did you think about this particular scenario? What did I do here? What went well? What didn't go so well? And see what other people think about you.
yeah.
I often talk about a theory that's called, are you a cat or a lion? So when you look at yourself in the mirror every day in the morning, who do you see yourself as? Do you see yourself as the cat? I'm just a student. I'm still a student. I've got a lot to do. Or do you see yourself as the lion? I'm a CSP rep.
Well,
Yeah.
I certainly, when you say that, just a student, I was listening to one of your podcasts. I can't remember who it was with, and you were talking about that use of the word "just,"
Mm-hmm.
and I tried to take that out of my vocabulary a little bit more these days, and I think generally as students, I think we are valuable to the workforce for sure.
Absolutely.
We are the future leaders of the workforce. And you know, when we're there on placements, we're there contributing. And I think I think what we've shown with the CSP student network as well is that we're making our voice heard. At the last arc in particular this year, I think we were very active, very vocal.
You were?
Yeah, which was really cool. Just make our presence known, really. And I think we should do as students. We shouldn't just be students. We have our value and we have our place in the profession, and I think that's something that we should really kind of stand up and be proud of and take ownership of.
Exactly. 2025 arc, and I'll tell you, your presence was felt. Physio students are gonna be the future generation of
Yeah,
physio. And for you to showcase this strength, this courage on a national platform in itself is worth applauding. So well done for that, Ricky. And harness that, hone it as a skill. You are really good.
yeah. I think yeah, it was a great experience. That I spoke. I was at the at ARC the year before as well, and
Mm-hmm.
I spoke a couple of times there, but not with the quite the same confidence I think as this year round. And even this time, I found myself talking against emotions for the first time. I think um,
Yes.
I spoke and I spoke against emotion that the rest of I could see the rest of my student kind of colleagues were all for this motion, but I just felt we're taught to be objective. We're taught to kind of take in different angles and kind of appraise them, I suppose, and be
Mm.
critical. And yeah, for the first time, I was like, actually, yeah, I'm going to be objective on this, and I'm going to talk against the status quo a little bit. And I don't know how popular I was for that moment, but it's all been fine. So, and
While
I
you,
think you've got to be got to be objective, and you've got to be you got to stand up for what you believe in, I suppose.
yes, and you've changed the vocabulary already. From trying to fit in, you're saying, I want to stand for what I believe in. And you spoke against emotion. That takes courage. And at annual reps conference, uh, you can talk against motions in your personal capacity. You don't always have to take a role of a CSP rep for that particular network.
Yeah,
And you did absolutely the right thing. What you felt was right, you did. So well done for that. And I was just looking through my book, Leadership Guide for Physios. And on chapter 15, the chapter starts with a quote from Thomas Carlyle, which says, "Diamonds are made under pressure." So if you're feeling the pressure right now, remember that you're going to become a diamond. That's why life is throwing all those obstacles, all those challenges at you. So the moment you get all the viewers and students, the moment you feel something is not going well or you're feeling quite pressured, just believe that this is for your own good. See what will come out from the other end when you go through that challenge and what you're going to be like when you face that challenge head on.
definitely take that with me because there definitely feels like a lot of pressure at the moment. So
Exactly. Yes. Okay. So, Ricky, you are a CSP rep. You are the president of your Physio Society. Tell me a little bit about why you took those roles. And you have been talking about being pressured, and you are doing a lot many things right now with your placements and everything that's going on around. Where do you find that time to become the CSP rep and to represent your Physio Society?
focused. I was going to say narrow-minded, but yeah, focused. From a place of passion, really. I do tend to be like that in life. Like I'm a very all or nothing kind of person. So with a CSP stuff, I think like it's a great responsibility and a privilege to be able to discuss policy. I guess like
Mm-hmm.
we talked about ARC and having that being a voting delegate and being able to actually vote and talk and debate on issues that are going to CSP strategy that's going to then trickle down into the profession for the next year. I think that's a incredible privilege and a responsibility to have.
Mm. Having an abundant mindset is a blessing. Thinking about when you wake up in the morning, thinking about this day is going to be an opportunity day isn't a bad thing. It is good that you're training your mind in looking for opportunities as opposed to looking for what's not working for you. What opportunity can I take on? What opportunity is coming my way today? And what can I do with it? If you don't want that opportunity, you can always leave it.
Yeah.
But accepting and being at the receiving end is a blessing. So hone that skill and keep this mindset. It's very important. You've already done so much, Ricky. And with the way you are talking about things, the roles that you've taken with your Physio Society, the CPD events that you've organized, the committee roles you've done, in no way can I say at the end of this podcast that Ricky is just a physio student. Ricky is so much more than that. So flip that script, have your elevator pitch ready, which tells people what Ricky is. And to all the students who are listening to us right now, listen to this podcast. Ricky has agreed to do something while he wasn't even prepared for this. And Ricky, we've spoken about your imposter syndrome as well. Let's talk a little bit about that. So, everyone knows that showing up isn't a bad thing. You are going to have those feelings. Even I have those feelings sometimes. World leaders who are billionaires, millionaires out there, they have this syndrome and it is real. Talk a little bit about what feelings you were going through when you said, Priya, I want to come on your podcast. And then you procrastinated. And then you had that imposter syndrome. Talk us through, please.
Yeah, we spoke about coming on the podcast, and then instantly I was like, "Oh no, what am I doing?" Again, I'm just a student. Like, who's going to want to listen to me? I guess. And then I had it again the other day when I listened to your interview with Ash, and I've met Ash, and I obviously know that he's a great leader, and I was just like, I've got to follow that. um, yeah, I think it's something I feel all the time. I think it's probably a healthy thing to have, isn't it? If you want to practice safely, I think it probably stems from my like previous career, I suppose, and like I've always kind of just I've never excelled at anything before. I've always just like I was okay at my job. That I was talking about like in my degree the first time around, I did okay. I didn't do exceedingly well or anything, and I think that I suppose I feel a great responsibility, like in going to healthcare, that my mistakes or mistakes and errors and things like that, that they're not. It's not just going to result in a loss of money. It's something that's going to potentially have impact on someone's life. So I think that feeds into being a perfectionist, which again I don't think is a healthy thing to be really. But it's where I am at the moment, and something I'm really trying to work on. But yeah, I think so. Then obviously, then that kind of like feeds imposter syndrome, really, like because I just don't want to let anyone down, and I don't want to let myself down, I guess. And I've been given this great opportunity to do this, and I don't want to mess it up, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Ricky, there is no such thing as perfect. It is people's perception about that term in itself.
Yeah,
What is being perfect is different for you. Being perfect is different for me. It will be different for someone who's listening to us.
yeah,
So, self-sabotage, imposter syndrome, procrastination, these are all real feelings.
yeah,
If you are going through them, learn from it and move on.
yeah. I've
And it's
definitely
healthy to have those feelings.
yeah, taking myself out of my comfort zone.
Mhm.
I spent most of my life in my comfort zone, and I suppose coming into education, that was a big change for me. Feeling those feelings of imposter syndrome, and I think so far, I think it's been a really great chat. So
Yes, thank you. Thank you for saying that. When you say you don't think you've done anything with your life until now, etc. Okay, all of those emotions and experiences that you've shared, I'll tell you one thing. So now, right now, if you're feeling I haven't done anything with my life, you are on the right track. You've taken ownership and you are
yeah,
taking those leadership roles with CSP, with your Physio Society, and you are going to prove that once you come into the driving seat of your career, there is so much more out there that you can see.
which is probably unrealistic and unfeasible, and everyone has to go at their own pace. But yeah, there is that, again, that probably leads into that feeling of imposter syndrome and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think it's probably important to let go of that.
Yes.
For
And Ricky, think about this. When you go for interviews, when you finish your degree and you go for your first job interview, what is it that you can bring that not all the younger students would bring or the younger newly qualifieds will bring? They will not have had the logistics experience. They will not have had the supply chain issue thing. You could transform your career so quickly without even realizing, and you'll just skyrocket with the skills that you have already had and you've learned your lessons the hard way. And with your logistics experience and with what you've done until you joined physio career is something that has to translate in some way in your physio career. Have you figured out if there are any skills that transferred immediately without you realizing? And what are they?
biggest thing will be that sort of MDT working. I had to deal with shipping agents and customs and things like that. So you're dealing with all these different stakeholders and having to negotiate, navigate your way through all that to come to like the one sort of unified outcome. I've talked about earlier about kind of overcoming those problems with like that shipping crisis and things like that. Like that was finding that adaptability, and it's probably given me more resilience than I think I have. That's something that's going to always come up in healthcare, isn't it?
Hmm.
So yeah, I think that those are probably the main things.
Yes. And what if I share exactly what you've shared, but flip that? Your experience as the logistics manager and in logistics and shipping and supply chain and all of that prior to becoming a physiotherapist. I'm a contract manager right now. Not many people know that physios can transform into roles like this as well with their experience. Now, what you already have is something that will benefit the contract management procurement side of things when it comes to healthcare products.
Right? Yeah.
And I have gone through all of this in my role now. So I practiced physiotherapy first. I was a clinical physiotherapist for like 10 plus years. And now I've moved into a role where I have to apply the skills that you have just mentioned.
Yeah.
Just think about it, Ricky. When you become a physiotherapist and when you get to that stage where you want to know from band six onwards, where do I go? I always talk about the four pathways that we have for physios. Clinical pathway, which is the most well known and most people know about it. Next is non clinical, which is your healthcare management pathway, where you're not going to be around patients, but you're going to be a project manager. You're going to be looking at services as a bigger picture and trying to improve service, innovate services, problem solve, and look at all the logistics part. And there's a third path, which is academics and research. So, what can you do as a newly qualified and transform your career into academics and research? And then final one is entrepreneurial pathway. If you think about entrepreneurial pathway alone right now with your experience, you can set that so easily because of your experience from logistics. So if you have to get some equipment for your private clinic eventually when you open one, you will have so much knowledge about negotiating with stakeholders, taking those skills to a next level as a physiotherapist. So every experience in your life, you will realize when you connect the dots. And Ricky, I want you to come to me and tell me, Priya, I've actually connected the dots now. Now I'm here doing this today, applied all the knowledge I gained since I was 18 years old. And that is what is life. And
Yeah.
that is why you get so many lessons in your life because you are meant to go somewhere which you can't see today. So we've both had similar experience, but you're going to have the clinical experience now. And I've had the clinical experience already. And now I'm applying the logistics experience and contract management experience, dealing with stakeholders, negotiating contracts, which you have already done.
Yeah. How
Yeah,
how are you finding that change then? Are you enjoying that?
I'm enjoying it. I'm loving it. And
Oh,
the more
brilliant.
you start enjoying something and you settle in a role, you kind of believe that I can do this as well. I never thought a
Yeah.
physio could do that. And I think there are not many contract managers right now, or contract manager physios, I would say. So I don't have to be a physiotherapist to be a contract manager, but I'm there.
Do you mind if I ask like what sort of drove you to kind of make that change?
Because I was around the people who deal with contracts and procurement regularly. I was in an organization which is an expert in that. So I'm
Yeah.
still with NHS organization, and I was a clinical quality manager before I came into this particular role. But then I've seen, as a quality manager, I've worked with a contract manager, and I've given that assurance about clinical quality, and I've seen what they do, and I felt I could do that. It's
And
about transferring your skills from what you've learned as a physiotherapist to the role that I'm in today. And yeah,
so I
go
was
on.
going to say, do you miss the clinical side of it?
I do miss that, especially when it comes to the empathy, the caring, that part, and being with a patient and seeing that change that we make to people's lives, independence that we give, and the tears, the happy tears that we get when somebody starts walking and somebody hugs you and says, "Thank you so much. You've changed my life." I miss that part. And even now, I'm on as a bank physio with my local trust. And every now and then, I try to pick up shifts when I feel like my energy is dropping and I need that dose of love. I just go back to my team and they are still there, they're lovely. And I go and see patients in community. And that brings my energy up.
Oh, that
So
sounds nice,
definitely.
actually. Yeah.
Yeah, so definitely I haven't left physio completely. But
Yeah.
then getting on to what I'm doing now is given me a different perspective about what physios can do. And that's where you see me in ARC when I was talking about leadership and the structural barriers we get. Some barriers are something that we put up against ourselves. It's not always the system, it's us who put those barriers.
I was just wondering. I was like interested in like. I think the podcast that you're doing is great, and I just
Like when I was helping students, when I was helping physios get onto their careers, I realized there is so much more that they don't know yet, which I can share with the skills that I have. I've always been a public speaker, I've always been forthcoming, I've always had communication skills. What I've done over the years is I've sharpened them, I've enhanced those skills. Even my first video when I started this podcast and this channel, I would keep it forever to see where I started and where I've come. And that is how you learn eventually.
yeah. Well, I'm really looking forward to seeing the growth of your podcast and everything. I think
Thank you so much, Ricky.
every episode that I've listened to, I've really got something from.
Thank you.
Um, Hopefully, people get something from this episode as well.
They
But yeah,
will. They will. Definitely they will, Ricky, because what you've done is it takes courage.
yeah, absolutely, and that's why I like say about advocating for students
Hmm.
and
Yes. And this book, Leadership Guide for Physios, it's come out from that. It is my experience of what I've learned over last 10, 15 years in physiotherapy. Some people like to listen to podcasts, some people like to read books, some people like to listen to audiobooks. There is different learning style, and I've tried to do that. When you asked why you started the channel, I've written this book, but then not everyone will read this book. And I want them to know that you don't have to wait to be a formal leader to start applying leadership skills. Yeah.
yeah.
And you are a perfect example of that.
Oh, thank you.
Do it when you feel like it. Don't wait for people's approval. Don't wait for anything. Much, Ricky. Thanks a lot for coming on this podcast. And
Thank
thank you,
you.
everyone. If you want to get in touch with Ricky, there will be a LinkedIn profile link in the description below. So you can get in touch with Ricky and congratulate him on what he's done today with Priya Physio Podcast. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.